Welcome, Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan here with, God damn it, Keith. We're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing Matt Dinniman's 2020 hit lit RPG novel, Dungeon Crawler Carl. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us in past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or send us a message on X or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcasts. Listen to us iTunes and Spotify. Please download. Give us a 5-star review. Give us a review. We have 20 reviews now. I don't know how we got it, but I'm really excited about that. Yeah, so Dungeon Crawler Carl, 4.53 on Goodreads. 7-book series so far. Pretty exciting stuff. You were the one to suggest this book. We had come off kind of a streak of serious books, and you needed to get back to your roots of just reading for fun. So you came up with Dungeon Crawler Carl somehow.
Yeah, it's all over Reddit. It's a cult following on Reddit.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I started doing a little bit of research on it, and because I knew nothing about it. And afterwards, I still knew nothing about it in terms of how it fit into the culture or whatnot. And looking this up, it's massive. It's massive out there. You got us a book report before we jump into our standard categories. Do you want to fire that up?
Dungeon Crawler Carl is a good reminder of why you don't judge a book by its cover. Just by the name and the cover, I would think this book would be a silly video game inspired book with a cat as comic relief. Well, actually, that's exactly what it is. And I liked it. It's really hard to articulate why this book is good or why it's fun to read. It's kind of like listening to that song Cupid Shuffle at a wedding. I can't not be happening listening to it. You know what I mean? Like, down, down, Cupid, down, down. You know, it's just catchy, it's fun, it's simple, but it's not simple. But it makes everyone feel good when they read it. This book is really meant for someone like me. It actually reminds me of a lot of Andy Weir, who I think had a similar, or way to stardom or whatever, right?
Sure, self-publishing, and then, yeah.
We've read some of his books, Project Hail Mary, Martian Artemis. But instead of made-up theoretical science about a made-up theoretical problem that it's super complex and repetitive, this book presents a simple problem like how do you defeat a gym bro based off your current inventory and skill level. Now that's something I can understand.
I give that a glurp. It's funny because I have two comments on that. One is it's fascinating to me how you wrote a paragraph and yet you still can't read that paragraph out loud. Really proud of you on that front. And two, I always thought it was the Cuban shuffle. It's the Cupid shuffle.
Get your racism out of here.
No, honestly, I was like, oh, Cuban sandwich, Cuban shuffle. That just makes a lot of sense to me. Let's get into some categories here. That's why we're here. Stock up, stock down. You go first because you already kind of burned one of mine, but you go first.
Stock up, a book that isn't about poverty, hunger, drug overdoses, abuse, and the evils of mankind, but also still has a message. Even though it is a silly book, I said that out front, and it's kind of just like a fun book. It does kind of address still some of these things. It talks about like kind of just overall bullies. It talks about elderly abuse and just how we treat the elderly in general. Kind of drives home, hey, some things are worth dying for.
Like friendship?
Yeah, which I really respect. So this is exactly what I talked about with the last book that I'm referencing, and the last few books we've done have been a little bit darker, a little bit more depressing to read. Where this book is just a silly book, but you can still get stuff out of these type of books. You know, we don't need a 20-hour book on how people in retirement homes are getting mistreated to show that people that are elderly are mistreated. Like, we don't need that. We can get it quickly here and you like think about it, right?
It doesn't need to be hammered over your head and lots of words on it.
Feels when you're force-fed it, and it's also done in such a negative way that it's like, okay, I get it. And then you start to feel helpless instead of being like, you know what, we should treat care of our elderly better. That's a good point, but this, you know, instead of like, yeah, this is a good rallying cry.
Yeah, agreed. My first stock up, and you, unfortunately, because we're always on the same wavelength, reference it in your book report, but the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. And I'm specifically here referring to the 3rd edition art. I actually like the Ace cover art much better, but did you have, on the Audible one, I assume you have the 3rd edition? One. It's like computer generated animation kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, it looks like a video game I played when I was like 8 years old.
Looks like Duke Nukem, but not nearly as cool as Duke Nukem looked.
Yeah.
And so I knew nothing about the book and saw the cover when you referenced it, and I said, okay, definitely no. This is not going to be for me, but I'll do it for you because I love you. And within the first 10 pages, I was patting myself on the back because it felt like my instincts were correct. The entire world structure gets squished like someone stomping a can of Coke. Okay. And then some AI announces that the survivors can reclaim Earth from a corporation by beating an 18-level dungeon game, which Carl and Donut see and enter. So I was like, whatever. Like, I don't really get it. It was kind of, did you read Hitchhikers?
I did. Yeah, it was very similar to Hitchhikers.
So the beginning part of it, being a corporation coming in, they have to do a new highway or whatever through Earth. So that part, I was like, well, this has been done before, and this isn't nearly as funny so far as Douglas Adams. So I was like, whatever. And then it all seemed to happen so quickly, and having played, a handful of single player video games with an intro of like video chapter, whatever you want to call it, this one seemed like the dumbest out of all of them, and it was a book I was going to read. But does it matter on the whole grand scheme of things? No, absolutely not. Once Carl and Donut start playing the game, and really after the first tutorial guild hall, I was all in. Mm-hmm. I just realized this is going to be fun. This, after all of the heavy things we've read, I just need to listen to this because I listened to it on Audible, listen to it and just enjoy it. And it was so enjoyable. It's like Spotted Dick. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Well, yes, I've had a couple things down there.
Basically what I'm saying is it's totally not what I expected. If I went to a restaurant and someone said Spotted Dick, which by the way is a British dessert. It's a steamed pudding with fruit and custard poured over it. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, it's delicious.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's delicious. Totally not what I expected. And once again, you can't judge a book by its cover. And also I just want to say, if you go to Wikipedia and look up Spotted Dick, it has a reference at the top. It says not to be confused with pearly penile papules. Don't click that. Don't click that.
No, it isn't.
I thought it was a different dessert. It
Sounds
is
like
indeed not a dessert. Okay.
Okay.
Do not click that. Yeah. So first stock up. Don't judge a book by its cover. What else you got?
Cats stock up?
Oh.
Did you have any cats growing up?
I did indeed have cats. I've had 3 cats in my life.
Oh, okay.
My dad got my sister and I each a cat as me and your mom are getting divorced present.
Stock down. Never mind.
No, they were wonderful cats. They were great cats. They were like straight outdoor cats. Like they came in at night and like slept there and they were always around, but it wasn't like you didn't pick up after them. There wasn't no litter boxes. They were just feral cats pretty much, but they were super sweet and awesome. And then those cats had some litters of kittens, so I've had kittens. And then my mom, when I was in 8th grade, got me a cat. She picked me up from detention after being in detention for like my 20th time, and I think it was a present for that, and she got me a cat. So Yes, I now have had dogs, but I'm okay with cats. I'm not an anti-cat guy.
Yeah, I've always said, and I had similar cats that were. I didn't even know cats could stay only inside. I was like, what are you talking about? That was a new thing to me when I got older. But I feel like I've always respected cats. There was a mutual respect there because they don't really just like everyone. You kind of got to earn that, which I appreciate. Obviously, dogs kind of have that unconditional love, most of them. So there is some of that where you didn't feel like you earned it. So I do always respect cats. But in this book, I do think they painted Cats, or Donut at least, really, really well thought out character. Because not only is she funny, but she's needy, but she's also brave, but she's also a coward, but she's also, sensitive, but she's like all these different, there's like a huge dichotomy of what she is, which is what a cat is, which is like why I think cats, I respect them, because they're not just always in a good mood or always this or always that. One second they'll be cuddling up on you, and like you move the wrong way and they'll like claw you in the face. They're not afraid to do that. So like you never know what you get with them. And I respect them. And this book does a good job of painting what they are, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert De Niro put it best in Meet the Parents or whatever the case is. So you can go and look up his quote. But he's basically, when he's, defending Mr. Jinxie, he's pretty much saying like, dogs, they'll love anybody. All you need is a piece of beef jerky and they'll be your best friend. Like cats, you have to earn their affection.
Oh, okay. Well, I just stole it from that. Perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you said. So yeah, spot on. I was going to say animals with, our pets with food names. as mine. I didn't end up going with that. Yours was better.
I was also hungry, though, this whole book. I kept on thinking about donuts. They're like, donut. I'm like, yeah. Uh-oh, that's the person's name. Damn it. Like,
I probably had like 4 or 5 donuts listening to this because I'd be in the car in the morning and I'd stop at Dunk's and I'd be like, well, I'm getting a donut now, too. I'm just being hit in the head with the word donut over and over again. And then after I'd eat it, I'd look at the empty bag and go, God damn it, donut.
I'll tell you what, I didn't know how much sweets I ate until I always try to give up sweets for Lent, not because I'm religious, but more just for something to do. Boy. But then I'm an addict. At times I'm like, I heard donut, my mouth started salivating. I was like, I need some sort of sweets now. So it's pretty tough. Not easy.
Yeah, not easy at all. My next stock up was Nick Arcade. Are you familiar with this TV show? Back in the 90s?
I think so.
It was ahead of its time, I felt like. Early 90s Nickelodeon game show. 2 teams play an arcade type games. So it's pretty much like the stand-up box arcade game. And then there's like video game trivia, and like both of those things are used to rack up points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game gets to enter the quote-unquote video zone for a chance to beat the game wizard and win the grand prize, which is usually like a trip somewhere or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it was like Jeopardy, but with video games. And then you also played video games. And the coolest part as a kid was at the end, this video zone was an interactive, like blue screen, green screen kind of thing where a player stood there and kind of played inside a video game. So you would be in the video game. Oh, like
virtual reality?
Yeah, except it was way before virtual reality. So it was like you're standing there and looking at a screen and seeing what's happening, and you have to like jump over stuff or like touch stuff, whatever the case was.
I like it.
It needed work. It wasn't fully fleshed, but unlike the spotted dick, but the pearly penile papules. But it was like this pretty much. As I was reading this, I was almost feeling there is obviously a video game energy to it, 'cause that's pretty much what Carl and Donut are doing. But it's such a fun story. It was like when I played Dungeons and Dragons the 2 times before I got kicked out. It was that, but the author created such interesting power-ups and bad guys that were touched into reality that it wasn't the normal tropes of here's an orc, here's a goblin, here's a wizard, here's a mage. It was much more interesting stuff, whether it be the crack Karen or the jock guy the bodybuilder guy that you're talking about. It was really creative. I really like that. So bring back Nick Arcade, bottom line. They tried to, supposedly, for those who have seen it, they tried to get a Kickstarter. I think it was like $350,000 and they couldn't get it done. So what are you going to do?
Did you get your money back that you donated?
I did not do that. It was not like Silicon Valley. Did you have any other stock-ups?
Well, staying on the same page, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, X-Men, Simpsons, Streets of Rage, stock up. I mean, all the classic arcade video games.
Oh, so good.
The biggest thing was, same thing happens in this book, is that you get to that boss and you got to find out what the weak spot is. There's always hints. It just brought me right back to me as 10-year-old being like, no, you gotta wait and save your like superpower for when the boss comes, and you gotta hit him when his back's turned, and all these things you gotta remember.
Grab Bowser by the tail.
Which did bring me a flashback of a really big pet peeve of mine. Do you remember those games? Some of the games, if you use your special power, you took your health away.
Yeah.
You remember that? That was so stupid. That's what still upsets me. I'm actually really upset about that, thinking about that. Is it before like the idea of mana came around?
Yeah, so I think it was before the idea when there was multiple health bars. Like a health bar and then like a magic bar or whatever the case was. So they didn't know what to do. So they didn't want to give you unlimited magic. So they said, okay, let's just take some of your health away. But that's pretty stupid. I mean, I do agree that there is and should be some super powerful magic that might hurt you to cast. Like sometimes I'm trying to think
double-edged sword.
No, save that for later. No, I'm trying to think of some specialty power that in a game causes you to just weakness. You've used up so much of your magical energy that you're like temporarily weak. Or almost like the Emperor using all of his, lightning power. And
like in Smash Brothers, when you use your shield too much and it breaks.
That'd be something like that. Sure, we'll count that. That. Simpsons, X-Men, and the Ninja Turtles game. Those are the 3. If I ever walk into an arcade to this day, that's what I'm looking for. Is there one of those boxes?
For sure. I also have played them somewhat recently because I've been to like an arcade bar, and maybe because you have just keep on putting quarters in, but I'm like, oh, this isn't as good as I remember.
Well, also at the time, quarters, I had $20 to my name. So if I'm putting a quarter in to get a new life, that was me spending 2% of my net worth.
Which is a good investment, honestly.
Yeah, this is a serious investment. Where now I'm just going to go in with an ice cream container full of quarters and just beat the game, whatever.
Yeah.
So my last stock up is Audible. I really hate to do it. God damn it, Bezos, because I was all but ready to give up my Audible subscription. We had kind of talked about this on the last pod about how you can pause it every year because I'm just racking up credits like Princess Donut racks up torches. And then I find out that this book is an Audible exclusive. It was really the only place I could find it not in paperback. And even then, it even didn't have it in my local library or whatnot. So in order to even get the audiobook, I'd had to be through Audible. And the audiobook's great. Jeff Hayes, who I thought was Patrick Warburton, Putty for the Seinfeld fans out there.
Oh, he did sound like him.
I thought it was him for several chapters. And then, the new achievement. It annoyed me at first, but then I found myself saying it in my daily life. I'd feed my baby like 2 ounces of sweet potatoes, which is her new max that she eats. And after she finishes, I look at her and go, new achievement. Or, she's doing new hand signals, whatever the case is. Even we've had guests. So we somehow managed to use all the mugs in my house between coffee and tea. And I looked up, I go, we used every single mug in this house. And I exclaimed to the world, new achievement. So, I'm pissed at Audible because now I'm going to have to spend all of my credits on the rest of these books, which maybe it's a good thing because then I can actually cancel Audible and I'm not throwing away these credits. But either way, they sucked me back in just when I was out.
Bringing back your quarter analogy, it feels like I'm just fucking. I don't even think about it. Before I used to be like, I don't know if it's worth that credit, but now I'm like, I piss credits at this point.
Oh, buddy, I have the Great Courses audiobook on the New Testament. I have that. I spent a credit on it. Why? I have
the
no
Bible?
idea. Yeah, it's pretty much a class on the Bible. Because one day I'm sitting there and I was like, hey, the Bible, it's a pretty important book. Even I'm not religious. I don't care. It's all parables and whatnot. But I was like, oh, I should probably learn about it just to know. And I downloaded. That's how much I'm wasting credits. I'm legitimately throwing credits away.
You're not even pissing them. You're pouring them out.
I'm hot diarrheaing credits right now.
Oh, the opposite of pissing. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. What about stock downs?
Stock down, I only had one, and it was writing about something you like, stock down. The problem with this book is that it really gives people like me and people that want to be aspiring writers hope, is because you take something that's like, oh, this is like something that he's just really passionate about, that he probably likes video games, he probably likes Dungeons and Dragons, he probably played them growing up. And we think the same way, or at least I think the same way. And this is something I would write this exact book in 6th grade. The difference is, and by 6th grade, I mean last year. But the difference is I'm a terrible, terrible writer. He like somehow is able to take this subject matter, which reality, when you summarize it and when you talk about it, like it's really just him fighting bosses, which is how I would write my creative papers in 6th grade. But he made it somehow entertaining and not feel like it's a slug, or not feel like, and then they fought this guy, and then he fought this guy, and then he fought, that's how I would write it. So it does inspire you to be like, oh, I could do this, but then only very few people could do actually how he pulled it off. So that's the stock down. Does that make sense?
It does. I feel like Matt was, and we're on a first name basis. I think he must have been a dungeon master at some point for a D&D, because he created the story very much lines up with how someone would create a D&D quest.
Oh, okay.
It's just the actual bad guys and what aren't out of some book. He's just creating this out of thin air, which really good dungeon masters will do. But I think this is to another level. And I do agree that he interwove enough story within there that it didn't seem like it was just boss battle, level up, boss battle.
Yeah.
Although I will get into some of that later on. But my stock down is Public Urination. So I myself am a big fan of Inconspicuous Public Urination, as is Jack, although he went not so inconspicuous, and when you're in a dungeon fighting for your life with an omniscient AI, it's probably not the best idea. So he really, fucks the shit up, everyone's shit up by peeing on that wall, unleashing the Rage Elemental, which was level 93, and supposedly only dissipates after claiming 666 souls. Tough look for the rest of the group, all because some guy decided to pull it out and pee on a wall. So, but he was warned. So, to be fair, he was warned. So,
yeah. I will say that makes me think of just in general how they made all these rules to basically be able to get rid of homeless people, but then they still apply them now, even though homeless people are everywhere, to the general public. Mm-hmm. And that, like, open container, public urination, that's just what homeless people are doing 95% of the day, but they made those rules just be able to, like, all right, we can enforce these so we can kick these people out. But then, like, me and you go out and we, need to take a piss on the side because we're dying, and then they arrest you for that, I don't care. I don't think it's fair. I don't like it.
Yeah, the whole rule's not fair because they're like, okay, you don't have a home, you can't pee outside, and then you go into a business, they're like, ew, get out of here. You can't use our bathroom. I'm not, we're rocking a hard place here. Where am I supposed to pee? That's all I'm trying to do. So... Yeah.
Or like if you have a open container, a lot of times you end up having to litter instead of throwing it away because you don't want to carry it around with you because you'll get arrested for it.
You brown paper bag it. That's the rule.
Oh, well, yeah. What if I don't have a brown paper bag?
Didn't you watch The Wire?
Yeah, I did.
You just put it in a brown paper bag. Then when you buy the booze.
I've been on the beach here in San Diego, and I've seen people get tickets for having it in red cups. By themselves drinking, not bothering anyone. They'll be on the beach. You're trying to... just relax, smell the ocean, listen to the breeze, and some dude, fucking dickhead, will pull up in a four-wheeler, blow gas in your face as he drives by. He's going like 25 miles per hour on the beach, probably trying to run over a kid. Shows up, he's like, hey, are you drinking here? And it's like, who is this saving?
Yeah.
What are you doing here? I understand it if I'm on the beach shotgunning beers, which I should also be able to do because it's America, but going up and like investigating, don't get me started. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it could be a boss in
I didn't know what the stock down was, but I'm just
Public Urination.
Okay.
Yeah, now you're just upset about open container laws. Let's get into some favorite characters. So we got obviously the big two, Carl and Princess Donut. I guess Mordecai could be one, the Maestro potentially. Agatha, who played a tiny role, but I feel like she's going to play a bigger role for sure. Odette, maybe the entire team, Meadowlark, the elderly folks you're talking about. Mongo, perhaps? I don't know. Who's your favorite?
I mean, I'm a sucker for the wise, old, mysterious guy, so I did like Mordecai, but I think Donut is the one you just got to go with. I know it's a major character, so it's easy pick, but like I said before, she's kind of made you respect Cat. She's well-rounded. She's like the comic relief. If Donut wasn't there, this book would be significantly worse. Yeah. I think you could substitute Carl for a lot of different people. He's kind of... can be whoever, but Donut's really the thing that keeps the whole story together.
I agree. It's Princess Donut for me as well. She's a show cat. She's one of those ugly flat-nosed cats, which I find to be hilarious. I would never own one, but I think they're hilarious. I do also agree that I love the wizened... basically Basil exposition is what Mordecai is as well, because he's kind of telling you what this whole thing means. And they introduce him initially as looking like Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I was already all in once they said that. So I will go Princess Donut, but an honorable mention for Mordecai. Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite part in this one?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the glurp scene was the best. There's no scene where a bully gets what's coming to them that isn't, I'm not going to like.
Carl handled it so well.
Yeah, those scenes are just the best. And I like the premise for the show is funny to me. The audience reaction is funny to me. Them turning on him, on the main guy, funny. Everything was great.
I agree. That was my favorite scene. There were so many boss battles that I enjoyed. Like the whole thing... like maybe murdering the Goblin Chief and killing the Goblin Younglings. But the whole book is just a fun ride interposed with trips to training guilds where we open boxes, get new powers or items, and then get some exposition for Mordecai. I feel like when they pulled them out for the talk shows, those were kind of bigger parts of the actual story. And the one with the Maestro was great because it was some info with also some foreshadowing and then also just beating up on a bully, which everyone loves. Do you have a favorite bad guy in this one or creature in the dungeon, perhaps? I mean, I'll give you a few for examples. You have goblins, bad llamas who like spit lava, and I think they're meth dealers or something, or meth users.
I like that. Yeah.
I think they were scatterers, the cockroaches that are basically just for smushing and leveling up. Rot stickers, they're like black ravioli that stick to you and blow up. Brindle grubs, which have like multiple levels. Dingoes have multiple levels, I think. Oh no, it's the troglodytes. The troglodytes are humanoid Komodo dragon type things. They have multiple levels. Bashers, pygmies, virtuosos, danger dingoes, metal band loving canines that have kobolds as their slave masters. Those are all just like the grinder type guys, but then we also have the bosses. The hoarder, which is the first neighborhood boss they meet, the Ball of Swine, which is kind of like the Rat King of Tuskings in a ball form, the Crack Aaron clone, Ralph, the Frenzied Gerbil, and then the jacked up juiced guy who you had. Any of those, or maybe someone I didn't even, because there's a lot. He really does create a lot of different bad guys in this.
Who were they talking to that they were charming?
Those are goblins.
Yeah, I just like that scene in general, the goblin whole scene where like you can turn a bad guy into neutral because of your charm element, which I thought was an interesting thing. But overall, for the best bad guy, I thought the Jim Bro guy, I thought it was just I thought it was a funny character. I was just exactly thinking of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or.
It did seem like, Bebop and Rocksteady or something like that. The Crack Karen one I thought had the funniest definition, but whatever, her profile, like she's got multiple shrieking tentacles, births disease-laden minions, creates and sells harmful products, debates scientific experts, and proselytizes to the weak-minded. The info sections on all these were really fun, so I liked hers the best. I kind of felt bad for the Hoarder, which was the first one they did. It was just
I did too, actually.
a woman, and like it was like a Hispanic woman who just has lots of stuff and she's dirty, and I was like, okay.
I think you're supposed to feel bad for her, though.
Yeah, because I think even Carl says, I think this is a real person that they interposed with some of the game. They like put some game in her. That's tough, and especially later when you kind of find out that with the goblins, when they turn those two goblins, and then he kills all the goblin babies, and one of them, Odette or someone, pretty much says, yeah, they're just creatures too. They're anti-crawlers because they don't want the crawlers to kill them. They just want to get to a final level where no one's going to get them. They want to get past level 10 where there was not going to be any crawlers anymore and they can just live their lives. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a lot. It was just a lot of fun bosses, and the way he explained them, I thought was really good. I didn't really understand much of Ralph the Frenzied Gerbil at the end there, but maybe that was just me.
Okay, some of them were a little chaotic, but yeah.
What about, did you have a favorite like loot or like item or power up or anything along those lines?
I don't know if I had. I think one of the things that was one of my hates is that I thought they did focus a little too much on the loot and the that became where it became much more. This person's really into RPGs, and like I said, I think the loot element's cool, but like if you were to make this a TV show or a movie, they would downplay that significantly. It would just be like they would be like a level on their like their name. They'd level up and they'd show them to get stronger all of a sudden, like they're just bigger all of a sudden, or like faster all of a sudden, things like that where it'd make more sense to a viewer. They definitely got in the weeds with the loot stuff.
Yeah, there were some big ones that I felt were important because they're going to play in later, specifically like Princess Donut's Enchanted Crown of the Sepsis Whore, which is +5 intelligence, +5 good first impression, can turn mobs on your side or get NPCs to work with you, which she does. And like all attacks have 15% chance of inflicting sepsis debuff. But once the Adorner wears it, they have to slay the Blood Sultan and all of the members of the royal family, which is on the 9th floor. So we know, okay, this is a cool thing, but also once the 9th floor happens, shit's going to go down. So that one I feel like they spent the time explaining, and that made sense. But then there were so many other ones that we just didn't really need so much. Like Donut's Talisman of the Slate Butterfly. Like, okay, yeah, it kind of played a thing. But outside of that, and just saying like, okay, Carl has more smush skill, and he now has this war gauntlet, which will make his hands not break all the time. Outside of that, I didn't feel like we needed all the explanation for all the loot because there was a lot. What about loves? Let's get into some love hates. What did you love about Dungeon Crawler, Carl?
The biggest thing is just the originality, how different it is, and how unique it is. It's just something I haven't really read before. really it is simple, but it is a lot of fun, reading, and it didn't seem very long. It just felt like you're kind of on the journey with him, and it was actually pretty good world building for something that you wouldn't think would be a great world building element, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I also liked the dungeon bosses themselves, which we've talked about. I thought they were very creative. And then talking about creative, the creative way that Carl uses his loot, because I don't
Yeah,
play
for
many of
sure.
these games, but I know that you can have a backpack and your backpack can have a backpack and you end up getting all of this loot. And Carl's doing that. He loots legitimately everything that's not bolted to the floor. And you're like, okay, well, when is this going to matter? But, him trading his meth that he got from the llamas for his chopper, or specifically his goblin copper chopper, his Carl's Jugaboom, which, the revved up toilet grenade moonshine plus goblin oil and corked with a torch, and he creates it, and he has like a licensing for it, or whatever
Yeah,
the case
that's
is.
what I was getting at with the Andy Weir stuff. It's like, oh, this is funny that he's combining these things to make something that explodes. It makes more sense. Where Andy Weir, they're like, so there's this fungus that we need to get rid of, and so what I'm going to do is take these molecules of H2O and then combine. I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
Yeah, it's just dumbed down, but in
Yeah, it's
you don't feel dumb. It's
stupid
just
person's-
like
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this is fun. It's fun. I don't need to feel like I need a science degree for this.
Yeah, and the thing is too, back to the originality thing, is this has been made already. So like Fall Guy, Wreck-It Ralph, Mario, like those are all video game movies and things like that. But this took it in another way, in another direction that I feel like we haven't seen anyone else make, even though this is like a common, buddy cop type thing, but in a video game. That's what this is, but it's like much different than that, it seems like.
Did you have any hates?
I already mentioned it, the level up stuff. It did seem to get a little carried away, a little into the weeds with the RPG stuff. I think it would have been just cooler as like, because some of it just seems like they're just in a video game. It's not where it should have been more like, these people have such advanced technology that they can, like almost like the Matrix, where they can all of a sudden give the person more muscles. Like they have some biology thing. They just go in and give the person more muscles. They can make them faster by doing X, Y, Z. Whereas this, where it would be like, and then my health bar went down, so I started. I feel like it should have been connected more to the real world in some way, because he is a human. He's not in a video game. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And I agree with this story, well, like the leveling up stuff, because there isn't a ton of actual story in this. It's mostly just fight scenes, leveling up, opening loot in safe rooms with some exposition from Mordecai. And I'm okay with that. It worked for me. I do agree there's a little bit too much leveling, like opening loot stuff and talking about that. And there also potentially was a little too much of just, okay, let's go out and smash these things and level up a bit. But it worked for me. I could see how some people wouldn't like that, though. So it's in my hates, because I didn't necessarily hate it, but I could see how people would be looking for more of a defined story and not finding it. And additionally, associated with that, I'm not sure about the political stuff in it. I'm sure it will become clearer as to like the players and their motivations, and likely there's some social commentary in there, like we kind of talked about. But whether it be Borant, company, party, the Coatine, the syndicate, the government, I wasn't following that at all. Really, were you following that?
Yeah, it seems like they're giving you breadcrumbs, but like the book didn't really end, so there was no payoff to the breadcrumbs. So I was fine with, honestly, if you doubled the length of this book in order to give it a proper ending. I think I would have started to get a little bit tired of, okay, and then they go to this boss, and whereas when it ended, I was like, oh, great, I'm happy that it's kind of over. Whereas like you think of a Red Rising or a Harry Potter, I'm like, triple the length of this book. I don't give a shit. I don't make this as long as possible.
I didn't need all the political stuff, and I know we'll get there, and I'm fine with it coming in piecemeal as the rest of this stuff is happening. For listener mail, I just had one quick thing, actually.
You've got mail.
My sister's in town with her kids, and they might have listened to a couple minutes of our pod or something. I don't know. But he did come, my nephew, who's 8, did come up to me and said that I sound, quote, boring, weird, and terrible. I need more expression, is what he said. So I'm going to do better. I apologize.
About me or you?
He was talking about me.
Wow.
He did give a 5 stars. So he said 5 stars, but this, which I appreciated. That's all I asked for. Feedback is a gift, like I said. So I'm going to try to give more expression, whatever that means. But I think I know what he means, But
Yeah.
boring, weird, and terrible. He's coming in to humble us. That's it.
Yeah, I would like to get a little more reasons for the terrible makes sense. That's obvious.
Well, you can't get any more reasons because
Weird,
I
though.
did throw him off a bridge. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Things that are lingering that make me want to continue reading is we got race selection coming up, which I'm excited about. Level 9, like what's going to happen to Donut. Who really is Agatha and what is her purpose? This Frank Q feud, like it's got to come to a head soon. So I'm excited to see what happens there. And we just at the end get introduced to Mongo, and I think he's going to turn this dynamic duo into a terrific triumvirate. So I'm excited to see how that relationship progresses with specifically him and Princess Donut.
I will say when they're like, and you know what Mongo actually is, and I'm like, a T-Rex, and they're like, no, it's actually the name from like a T-Rex, and then they're
Velociraptor.
like, Velociraptor. I was like, what a letdown! I thought it was gonna be a T-Rex. What the hell?
Yeah, well, Velociraptor's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they're pretty rugged.
So Cast the Movie, Universal and Seth MacFarlane's Fuzzy Door Productions acquired the rights to adapt Dungeon Crawler Crawl into a TV series. We got Christopher Yost, who worked on Thor Ragnarok and The Mandalorian. He's going to write the series, so that's potentially pretty exciting, especially with these backers. There's no real other information. Doesn't know if it's going to be like live action or animation, whatever the case is. Do you have a preference whether you'd want it to be live action or animation?
Live action. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I would.
Yeah,
I think I'd like animation. I don't think you could do it live action without a huge budget and like crazy CGI type stuff. I think animation would be way better.
Yeah, that's true. I think but in my mind, it's almost already animated. I don't know if that's because of the cover, but just in my mind, it plays out animated. It plays out like a video game, whereas I think I wanted to come to real life, make it more grounded a little bit. But that's just me.
I just don't even know how you do like
No, I don't know.
all of the bosses.
Because we're idea guys. We give them the idea, they figure the other stuff out. I'm not too worried about that.
I think some pretty cool animation would be fine. Did you want to have anybody casted for it in your mind?
I mean, I think the easy and obvious answer for Carl would just be a Chris Pratt or Ryan Reynolds type. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who else can fit in that. Just basically needs to be like a buddy cop guy. No, actually, who I would like, now that I think about it, is who I think is underrated is the guy from New Girl, Jack Johnson, or Damon Wayans Jr. I like both of them.
Oh.
Both would be good.
Yeah.
Jake Johnson. Sorry, not Jack. Jake Johnson.
I went low hanging fruit with Chris Pratt, so I just think but that's super low hanging fruit. It's not even fair, honestly. But I also thought of more of an animation, and I'd be fine with Patrick Warburton doing the voice because he was so close to what the guy who did the thing.
Yeah.
The audiobook.
And then for Donut, I did Kate McKinnon. She would obviously be animated.
Kate McKinnon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I didn't have a donut. She'd be animated, so he's going to be live action. You mean like computer-generated CGI thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about for the pearly penile papules? Who do you cast for that?
Well, that's where I cast the doctor to come in and help with that as usual. They usually give you a little penicillin.
He's like, oh,
That's
Keith,
typical,
back
then.
again for another penicillin shot.
Yeah. Clear that right up. No big deal.
All right. I actually wanted to do for our rating section, I had two questions. One, I'd like to add a who is this book for? So I'd like to say, who do you think this book's for and what do you rate it? And also, are we still cool with going out of 4 buddies, or should we more align with Goodreads? And I only ask because I was at Caroline had a birthday party and it was a friend's house or whatever, and they read, and so I asked her about like Demon Copperhead, what she would give it. She was like, oh, I give it like 3. And I was like, oh, okay, but everything's out of 5. So now it's like it's skewing my whole thing.
Yeah.
So
and the conversions when I'm thinking about it, when I say it's a 3 out of 4, that's really a 4.25 at least.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, oh, that doesn't convert the same way.
Do we convert it to 5? Do we change to 5?
Yeah.
All right. So Keith, who do you think this book's for, and what do you rate it out of 5 buddies?
Based off of Goodreads, you can tell it's not a very woman-centric book. I think it's probably for someone that likes video games and grew up playing video games and grew up playing RPGs and is into that stuff. And then out of 5, I'd give it a 4.1, I think, is where I'd sit. Yeah.
It's good rating. Good rating.
Yeah, which is funny because I would have given it a 2.75 out of 4, which doesn't equate, right?
Yeah, it doesn't equate, but that's all right. Yeah, I'm not into, I do like video games. I'm not into RPGs. I think it's for anyone that enjoys sci-fi or fantasy, but wants to try something a little different.
Oh, okay.
Because it's short. It's not a long book. It's not a lot to invest in, and it's fun. So if it doesn't have to be like, if you need this beautiful big world building, it's probably not for you. But if you're looking for a little something different, try it out. I think you'll like it. It's like Spotted Dick. And I'd give it 4 buddies. Like, I really wanted, out of all the series we've read, I really wanted to like continue this one immediately. Probably because it doesn't end on any sort of cliffhanger or anything. It just like ends. So I'm like, all right, we got to continue the story. But it was super fun. It was such a change of pace from what we've been reading that I'm excited to get into the next one. So yeah, I think 4 out of 5 is pretty good based on like the small qualms we have.
Yeah, it did remind me of Columbus Day. That's the book I was referencing. I think I talked to you about before.
Yeah, the expeditionary one.
Yeah, which was like the same thing where it's like kind of the main guy's kind of a goofy guy, but it's like kind of world at stake.
Superpower AI sidekick thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So. That aligns. That aligns for me. Yeah, well, that's Dungeon Crawler Carl. Everyone out there, have fun out there, and remember to kill, kill, kill. Keith, what do we got coming up next?
We got First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. So it's a quicker one. It's a thriller-ish.
Yeah, back to our Reese Witherspoon book club.
Oh, it is a Reese Witherspoon. I didn't even see that.
We were on good terms with her after the last one. I can't remember what that one was. We apologized, and now I might be rescinding my apologies, no take backsies. But I think after this one, we might need to jump back into some Carl because I'm going to need a cold shower. All right, Keith. Well, I'll catch you for that next week, probably.
All righty.
All right. Bye now.
Bye now.